When I was finishing rabbinical school, traveling and visiting different communities to see what my first rabbinic step might be, I had the opportunity to watch a successful and prominent senior colleague give a sermon. His presentation was dramatic even before he started speaking, with a crisp navy suit, deep brown leather shoes, and colorful, stylish reading glasses. And he opened his remarks with a quote as follows: "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times." He continued making extensive comments on political situations in the United States and in Israel, and with each comment returned to his opening theme. There were things going on that were cause for worry, and there were also things going on that were cause for hope. He spoke to each theme expertly, giving his audience the take-home message that we should certainly not be complacent, but that we could go into our Kiddush lunch and out into our Shabbat afternoon with our minds at ease. I think the reason why I remember this sermon so well is because with all the emotion it conveyed, that Shabbat, for all intents and purposes, was a fairly regular day. And now it's 2024. It has been almost 6 months since the October 7th attack on our Israeli brothers and sisters and on our Jewish homeland. We haven't had a regular day since before Simchat Torah. It isn't true that this is the best of times and the worst of times. Unfortunately, it seems like our times are going from bad to worse. My husband Akiva and I live on a building right on Palms and Motor, and the view from our living room includes the big billboard right on that corner. Before the writers' strike, a while ago now, we noticed with interest each time a new show or movie went up on the billboard, and since the writers' strike, we've watched various public service announcements and advertisements go up on the billboard, providing, of course, extensive armchair commentary on all their merits and weak points. We were used to the way this billboard was part of our everyday life. Then, about 2 weeks ago, something very different happened. I was driving home along Palms and had a great view of the back of the billboard. It had been painted over with black, as no advertiser was using the space, but then it had been spray painted with a particular political message. It was anti-Israel graffiti. Of course, I went home and I told Akiva right away, and we immediately contacted the owners of the billboard to tell them they were giving free space to voice this message. The owners of the billboard immediately got back to us, asking for clarifying details, communicating that this would be taken care of. But the graffiti is still there. It's faded in the wind and the rain. Hopefully, it'll be gone by the end of this weekend. But as of last night, the message was still readable. In the past couple of weeks, I heard a story from a friend about another friend who was taking her car to the dealership. She was in the waiting room and saw two men sitting together watching anti-Semitic videos with the volume turned up loud. She went over to them and talked with them, explaining she was Jewish and explaining what they're watching wasn't true. While one of the men seemed open to listening, the other was not. She was able to engage with them for a few moments, but things quickly escalated. The conversation ended in a verbal altercation. Also, in the past couple of weeks, I heard a story from another friend who went to an esthetician for a skincare service. My friend's Jewish. The esthetician is not Jewish. Now, in the course of this skincare experience, my friend and the esthetician had lots of time one-on-one. Now, this esthetician was particularly talkative, telling anecdotes about her other clients. She started speaking about a past client who was Jewish, and then started making anti-Semitic comments about Jews in general. My friend felt caught off guard. She was in the middle of a skincare treatment, and she decided not to say anything. The esthetician continued and said that she had already told another client about this Jewish client, and that client said, "You know, I'm also Jewish." The esthetician continued and said, "Yeah, we talked about her being Jewish and about her synagogue, so I know she's not like Orthodox." Needless to say, my friend won't be returning to that establishment for any future skincare. In these stories, there are two things we must notice. First, anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiments are, unfortunately, thriving. The things people are saying and doing now against the Jewish people are chilling and enraging to behold. And the words of hate flow so easily that we know they were not trapped far at all below the surface. But second is the division that the anti-Semitism of today threatens to sow within our Jewish family. Now, of course, we're Jews. We don't always agree with one another. But the idea that the Jewish people itself is fractured, in the context of the story with the esthetician, adds to the lexicon of anti-Semitic tropes. We cannot give in to division. Unfortunately, the public conversations of rabbis of all denominations have been amplifying this perceived division in the Jewish people. Last week, a fairly large group of Jewish clergy from a variety of denominations came together to sign a letter to the United States President advocating for a particular set of political policies. Now, immediately afterward, other rabbis wrote and shared articles denouncing this letter, using verbiage both flowery and rabbinic, and cutting and divisive. For my part, let me be clear on where I stand. The world is focused on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza rather than the terror attacks of October 7th or the aim of Hamas to annihilate the Jewish nation and the Jewish people. This, unfortunately, is a win for Hamas, and this is not the time for a ceasefire. Of course, we prefer peacetime to wartime. Of course, we want our soldiers to come home. Of course, we want to help our Israeli brothers and sisters heal. But this war isn't yet over. As Rena Lee shared with us last week, in Israel, there is a veneer of life goes on. But just underneath the surface, there is trauma and there's rage. We have 134 or more of our Israeli brothers and sisters held in captivity by our enemy. We must bring them home. And we must continue to fight our enemy because we know that their aim is to utterly destroy us. Not just in Israel, but also right at home, right here in this neighborhood, we are in a vulnerable position. But this does not mean we have to act in a vulnerable way. Instead, we can act with strength. Before I went to Israel this past December, I was at a yoga class in the studio about a block away from my home. The instructor was wearing one of these tags that so many of us were wearing now, but at the time I had never seen one before. After I came back from Israel with this tag that I got in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, one of the other students in the class approached me, seeing that I was wearing it, and showed me her own. She spoke about wearing it when she goes out and meeting people who see it, recognize it, and create with her a moment of solidarity and togetherness in a very scary feeling world. That solidarity, that togetherness, that unity, this brings us strength. So the yoga studio is one thing, but the gym, the other place where I go besides yoga, where I regularly encounter lots of non-Jews, the gym's another thing entirely. The yoga studio has a mezuzah on the door. It has Israeli instructors and students who walk around speaking Hebrew. But the gym, that's a different political environment. It's the sort of environment that tries to make space for every type of diversity. They place one small Hanukkah decoration alongside a massively festive Christmas display. So when I go to the gym and I wear my Adat Shalom t-shirt, or my Camp Ramah t-shirt, or my Masorti Movement t-shirt, I know I'm doing two things. First, I'm making a statement that the Jewish people exists, that regardless of the political situation at the moment, we are here and we will not cease to be. And second, I'm showing up on behalf of anyone else who is there, who is Jewish, and who doesn't feel comfortable in these current times wearing a t-shirt that says so. I know that my making this public statement about my Jewish identity is bringing strength to others and is making it more likely that other Jews will choose to wear their Hillel t-shirt or their Jewish summer camp t-shirt the next time they come to the gym. This isn't just about wardrobe. This is about solidarity, togetherness, and unity. This is about what makes us strong as a people. Earlier this month, our community had the gift of being able to learn from our rabbi in residence, Rabbi Amy Levin. She shared her wisdom and insight about building community, her experience as an Israeli Masorti rabbi, and she shared with us powerful Torah about how it's possible to disagree with one another, but still be unified. This Torah of unity is something that we need right now as a people, perhaps now more than ever. As Jews, maybe even as humans, our custom, our instinct is to disagree, to have our own opinions, to divide into camps, to dismiss our counterparts. But in this moment, as Jews, we must refuse to give in to division. And we must do this, especially when we disagree. We say 2 Jews, 3 opinions, and we also say Am echad im lev echad, one people with one heart. We know that we can hold more than one opinion in our heart at any given time. We know there's enough room. We must decline. We must refuse to give in to division. Since the beginning of this war, we have said, B'yachad ninatzeach. Together we will win. Together we will be victorious. But the shoresh netzach has another meaning as well, eternity, with its connotations of endurance, of permanence. When we are unified, we will win. When we are unified, we will endure. We are a people with so many opinions, yet we are a people with only one heart. We are Am echad im lev echad. We will never allow the forces of division to tear us apart. Shabbat shalom.